You guys. Good evening. Welcome to Aldersgate United Methodist Church. I'm glad that everybody's with us tonight, especially those who are viewing online. And we certainly are thankful for much better weather than we had last Tuesday night. So thank you everybody for adjusting your schedule to come tonight, since we certainly wanted to keep people safe last week. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. First of all, the restrooms are out the double doors to your left. Down the hallway, you'll see the water fountain. Once you get there, you know you're in the right place. You also notice that we have emergency exits on every wall in the sanctuary. Not that we plan on using them, but just in case. And in case you missed, there is a whole table full of swag in the back of the sanctuary here, so be sure to stop. There are business cards, pens, notepads, booklets about all sorts of information and so forth. If you're online and you'd like to have some of that, I would say give Stacy a call in the office tomorrow or send an email in. We'll make sure that we'll get information to you if you'd like something. So this is the third presentation in our Life and Legacy Planning series. Most of you know the drill by now. The speakers are going to talk for probably 30 to 40 minutes. We'll probably have 20 to 30 minutes with question and answer. We'll have a wireless microphone we'll bring around for you, because it's important to speak into the microphone so people who are online can hear what the question was. So tonight, we have two speakers. They're both here from the Nebraska United Methodist Foundation, which is based here in Lincoln. Sharon Schmidt is the Director of Stewardship. She oversees gift planning, focusing on the highest ethical standards. Sharon equips individuals, churches, and related agencies in the development of planned gift programs, investment programs, and endowment funds throughout the Great Plains United Methodist Conference, which is a big area. Christine Roberts is originally from Valley, Nebraska, and she attended Midland Lutheran College in Fremont, Nebraska. Well, we won't hold that against her, you know. Graduated with honors in 2007, and then went on to continue her education at University of Nebraska College of Law, graduating in 2010. After graduation, she worked a couple of law gigs, including having her own law office. But now she's the executive director of the Nebraska United Methodist Foundation. So please help me welcome both speakers we have tonight.
Thank you. I did look at Nebraska Wesleyan really hard too, so don't hold too much against me. Midland just offered a little bit more in scholarship money, so gotta do what you gotta do. Thanks, Carrie, for introducing us. We're thrilled to be here tonight. I had on the first slide to introduce ourselves, but obviously we don't have to do that now, so I'll turn it over to Sharon here to do general information.
Let's see if I can operate this fancy clicker. Sometimes I'm not good with my technology. So, yes, thank you for having us. Super excited. I feel like I know so many of you on a deeper level because we keep having these meetings, and so it's just nice to see new faces and see the people that we've continued to meet with. A little information about the foundation. We are a self-supporting nonprofit, 501c3. We are governed by a board of directors, 16 elected individuals. Half of them are clergy, half of them are not. We work for the benefit of the Methodist churches, Nebraska United Methodist Churches, ministries, and individuals in Nebraska. We provide investment services to help grow your church and your ministry's future, and provide education on a wide variety of investment services. And additionally, one of my favorite things to talk about is the grants and scholarships that we offer. We help with the creation and development of endowment funds, provide presentations of the foundation's investment services like we're doing here this evening, provide periodic meetings with churches to go over their investments. Typically that would be a finance or admin committee meeting. We do planned giving seminars for church groups, fund development workshops, do planned gift visits with individuals from the churches or ministries, and stewardship sermons. This one's yours.
We're just going to go back and forth all night, so please bear with us. I know the attorneys did chunks, but we're not going to do chunks. So the foundation services, I wanted to highlight the educational workshops and seminars, specifically because this is where you're going to see the bang for your buck and getting your church to participate in your giving. We literally can do training for you on cultivating relationships and asking. We have done. Sharon did, hosted an ask training with Camp Norwesca last year-ish, October-ish. And we just got really good feedback on giving them some confidence to go out to their donors, and prospective donors, to ask them to remember Camp Norwesca in their gift planning. And we would love to be able to do that with Aldersgate or any United Methodist church that is interested in taking us up on those services. Same with legacy planning. I really like to highlight legacy societies right now. You'll hear in a little bit, I'm really passionate about the generational transfer of wealth happening around the world right now. And a legacy society is a great way to make people realize that they can make a difference with leaving a planned gift to their favorite church or ministry. And so we've got brochures with all the other swag back there that outlines what the foundation would do to create and help you maintain that legacy society. And then our services also include helping you grow and maintain endowment funds. We educate on the tax benefits, and like I said again, the transfer of wealth. That's my thing right now. In addition to that, that's not listed on our slides right now, are what Sharon mentioned though too, Sunday morning conversations. If you'd like us to come on a Sunday morning when your congregation's here, we'd be happy to speak during an announcement portion for just a few minutes, or if pastor needs a break, a little vacation, we can come talk for the 10-minute sermon. Now, we are not clergy. We are not clergy, so don't expect us to give you some inspirational something for the week or anything. But if you got some really good lay leaders, we can educate your congregation on how they can help Aldersgate. And then, as you know, committee meetings. We've been meeting with a committee here, working with you guys. And then we love hosting events, helping church host events. Potlucks. Methodists love some food. That's how we get them there. Half or full day seminars. I am planning to do a Put Your House in Order event like I have the last 2 years. Hopeful to host it here in Lincoln this year. And I'm looking at September 12th. Still in the planning stages, but that kind of keep that day in the back of your mind if you want to come to our Put Your House in Order event, where we have educational pieces. It's all for free, but then also ask an attorney to come and draft documents, wills, powers of attorney, if you haven't done that for yourself yet. We provide that opportunity to get that done that day. And then consistent partnership in whatever needs your church has. We're here to help with all of that.
We're just learning this dance. Oh. All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about our grants, and I have to read this information because it's new to me, and it's also changing all the time. That's Christine. So I apologize, but we have 2 grant sessions. Currently, our grant session that is open ends March 31st, and we have ministry grants available, and that's for little programs and activities that are going on in the church. If you help with a food bank or need help with your vacation Bible school cost, you can submit a ministry grant. Mission grants, those are we have 2 of those. Those are also open during the same periods, the spring grant session, January 1 to March 31st, or the fall grant session, which runs July 1st through September 30th. Mission grants, we have Adine and Keitha Thompson, and that is for individuals for national or international locations to help with financial need. And then our Gifts from the Heart Mission Grant is for churches, again, supporting both national and international locations for missions. We also have our New Start, New Faith grant, starting, obviously, and supporting churches that are new to the community. Then we have a facilities upgrade grant, which is new this year, and it is open year-round, and it is to assist churches with structural building needs, maintenance, repairs, those sorts of things. Did I miss any?
Right now, no.
Okay, good. All right, then we have scholarships. I have not been at the foundation long enough to see a scholarship session go through, so I'm super excited about that. I came in June of last year, so they were kind of doing that, but I was brand new and wasn't real certain what was going on. But we have a church leadership scholarship, and that is for both clergy and lay leaders, and can be used for continuing education and necessary support for all Nebraska clergy and lay leaders. Course of study for individuals enrolled in course of study programs. That one's available year-round as well. Then we have seminary scholarships that are available to 3rd and 4th year students who plan to become pastors in the Great Plains United Methodist Conference. That application is not available until April 1st, and that one runs April 1st to June 30th, as well as our final scholarship, which is the Tithers Scholarship, which I think is an amazing opportunity. It's for any post-secondary students whose parents can provide a signed statement that they've been tithing for 5 years.
And the Tithers one is so significant because that donor is passionate enough about tithing that it's a $10,000 a year scholarship, so it's one of the biggest ones. And I wanted to clarify, the seminary scholarships are still available to current seminary students too, not just those looking to go to seminary. Okay, so transfer of wealth. You guys ready for this? The Nebraska Community Foundation did a study in 2021. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to tell you all about it. Of this generational transfer of wealth that's happening from generally the baby boomer generation, and how much wealth they are going to transfer to the next generations. And the numbers are very teeny tiny up on that map right there, but it's, I brought my cheat sheet of the study itself. We have some of these if anyone's interested. I don't think we brought them tonight, but if anyone's interested, I can get you a copy. But in the coming decades, our state will experience the largest intergenerational transfer of wealth in its history. Over the next 10 years, which started in 2021, so we're already 4 years in, $100 billion will transfer from one generation to the next. In 50 years, that number exceeds $950 billion. Now those numbers they are finding, again, 4 years in, that those are actually undershot, that the number actually is likely much more than what they predicted even 4 years ago. So you can, again, you can't see because it's so little, but the counties surrounding Lancaster County is the metro area, and in the 10-year transfer of wealth, the arrow pointing there predicts that $44 billion will transfer from the baby boomer generation to the next in the next 10 years. Now's the time for the cool video. She taught me something today. I didn't know you could do this.
There are people who have invested in us, and so an opportunity to give a little back for those who are going to follow us, it's just the right thing to do.
The transfer of wealth is this incredible opportunity for Nebraska. In the next 10 years, we're going to see $100 billion transfer from one generation to the next. Much of that money will go to heirs. Some will go to taxes. What we're asking generous Nebraskans to do is to think about contributing 5% to their favorite local charities, including their hometowns. That's, if you take 5% of $100 billion, that's $5 billion that can be used as a margin of excellence to build our hometowns for the next generation.
Hello, sweetie.
We think that in the next 20 years, 71 of Nebraska's 93 counties will be reaching their peak transfer of wealth. And in fact, some counties are already reaching their peak transfer of wealth today. So this isn't something we should just be talking about. The transfer of wealth is something we should be acting upon with all urgency and haste.
So please do it while everything's kind of good yet.
You have to look in the mirror. What am I going to do about it? What's my responsibility? I mean, if you take my case, I've got a child in Omaha and I've got a child in Ames, Iowa. When I pass, they get the farm and they're welcome to sell it. Where's that money going to go? It's going to go to Omaha and Ames, Iowa. And so I think maybe the better decision may be to say, wait a minute, if I want to take part of that farm and give it to rural Nebraska, what would that look like? So you could designate a certain amount, you could designate a certain percentage. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Maybe you give the kids 40% instead of 50%, if I have 2 children, for instance. Or we could come up with any plan you want to. The point is, what is our commitment to rural Nebraska, and how are we going to make Main Street stronger in our rural communities? That should be maybe one of our goals. And if that is, then amend your plan to make that happen.
With the 2021 Transfer of Wealth Study, Nebraska Community Foundation launched the 5 to Thrive campaign. And 5 to Thrive is a call to action. It is asking all generous Nebraskans to consider leaving just 5% of their assets to their favorite hometown or to a charitable cause that's near and dear to them. If everyone did this, if everyone left 5, that would equate to $47 billion that could be reinvested in our communities to make our communities the kinds of places that people want to move back, raise their kids, that have all kinds of amazing amenities. There's really big power in numbers. If everyone did this, just think of the amazing things that could happen.
I think we should all think about what we want our fingerprint to be. We're going to leave one regardless. And we think about the people who have left fingerprints that we're benefiting from. We, as stewards who are taking care of the community today, need to at least consider, what do we want our fingerprint to be 20, 30 years from now, when the people who are currently in charge of the community look back? What are we going to do today that's going to make life and things better for them down the road? What do we want our fingerprint to be?
So cool. I know what you're thinking. Christine, you're Nebraska United Methodist Foundation. How dare you promote Nebraska Community Foundation? That's not what we're here for. But I want you to leave something to your favorite nonprofit. If it's not Lincoln Aldersgate United Methodist Church, if it's you live in a rural community and you want to leave it to the Nebraska Community Foundation, I can connect you with the people who work at the Nebraska Community Foundation to talk to their gift officers. All of these nonprofits that we know each other. We're part of a network of people, and I can get you to your favorite nonprofits' gift officers to talk to them if that's what you would like to do. We all do our services for free because we just want to help our nonprofits grow. And I like to spin theirs a little bit. They do a 5 to Thrive campaign, just 5% of your estate leave to your favorite nonprofit. Well, as a religious entity, maybe you might want to think about tithing. Maybe you might want to do 10% of your estate to your favorite nonprofit. Hopefully, again, Lincoln Aldersgate United Methodist Church. And I wanted to highlight what they were saying on really the impact that you could make. Now, you might sit there and talk to your financial advisor, your accountant, your estate planning attorney, and think, 5% of my estate to my church isn't going to make enough difference. I don't know if I want to bother. But if everyone in your congregation left 5% or 10% to your church, that could make a huge difference. You just have to make the effort to do the plan, to do the planned giving, and that's what we're here for, to help you with. That is literally our jobs. So again, I apologize for how teeny tiny the slides are, but this is an example of an endowment fund. I am not one to reinvent the wheel. So Nebraska Community Foundation, again, has already done all the work for us. So this is a slide that's got an example with the following assumptions. Carrie said, 588,608. Why such an odd number? I don't know the answer to that. Let's just pretend it was like a retirement fund growth or something, and that's the number it ended up being. But that would be the beginning balance in this example. They are assuming a 7.5% return net of fees, a 4.5% annual endowment payout, and asset allocation of 75% equities and 25% fixed income, which is super fancy language in our world that we could go over with you if you would like to know about how our funds work. But with those assumptions, they are showing how this endowment fund can grow every year, and the Nebraska Community Foundation, the point of it is to give grants back out into the community. So the gray bar on top is the amount of grants that they are giving back out to the community at the rate that they chose, and then the red bar is how that endowment fund grows without touching the principal every year. And so the point is to show you the power of an endowment, and if you have a healthy endowment, how your church can rely on that to survive should it ever go through some rough times when the annual giving to the offering plate's just not cutting it anymore. So we are promoting unrestricted endowment funds strongly at the Nebraska United Methodist Foundation so that our churches, urban or rural, can survive to make it to the next generation. Oh, I had a video.
But the key is the thing I haven't mentioned in this graph. Can anybody see the parentheses in those little colored areas? If you're too far away, I'll tell you what they are. That's the average gift in each category. The average gift for an annual gift, this is your, hey, let's just get $10 and be happy with everybody. In here for hospitals is $199 for the top performers. We'll go up the next three sections. The average major gift is $112,000. The average corporate gift is almost $40,000. The average planned gift, $400,000. How many planned gifts do you need in comparison to how many annual fund donors do you need? You want to know why you should be talking about planned giving? Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, because they're actually in church on Sunday, so you get them twice. Because one estate gift changes your entire organization. One. And if you got 10, you're off to the races. According to research, by 2045, the transfer of wealth in the United States is going to be $72 trillion from generation baby boomer, but my parents are silent, so from silent to, in our case, from silent to generation X, from baby boomer to generation X, from baby boomer to generation Y or millennials, from generation X to millennials. Are you kidding me? That's where the money is. We are an asset-rich country right now with high inflation. Where's everybody's money? It's in their house, their farm, their cars, other long-term investments. We've locked away, to your point, the idea of retirement funds. You can't access those unless you have an emergency. And by the way, you're told, don't. This is where the future is. This is why it's so critical that you be having active, engaged conversations. Because the largest gifts are coming from there, fewer people are giving. In the United States, who are the most likely people to give to your church? Your parishioners, your congregation, your members. And yet we don't want to have these conversations. And then there's the idea of kids. And we go to I use this slide everywhere, it just happens to be the most applicable here because I live here. Warren Buffett said in 1986, I'm going to give enough money to my children so that they feel like they can do anything, but not so much that they can do nothing.
You can stop it there.
I would defer a little bit to CK, but my experience in this.
I guess I can help with that.
But the key is the thing I haven't mentioned in this graph. Can anybody see the parentheses in those little colored areas?
I want to go forward to the next slide, yes.
But
You're my hero. Thank you. Sorry about that. I forgot I wanted to show you that little piece of that video. That was Randall Hallett. He's a philanthropist in Omaha. That was our Put Your House in Order event at St. Luke's UMC in Omaha 2 years ago. Larry was there. So if you have any detailed questions, Larry was there. And he is a professional in this world, and he said the exact same thing the Nebraska Community Foundation said. So the transfer of wealth is important, and this is the critical time now to be having those conversations with people on what they can do with their estate plan to really make a difference for nonprofits. So I just wanted to hit that home with that slide.
All right, so as Christine said, our jobs are gift planners. That's what we do. So I want to talk a little bit about gift planning. I am a gift planner. My job is to assist donors in identifying their assets and helping them move those assets to a charity in a timely and cost-effective way. She took my clicker. Gifters or donors, that's you. Your Christian duty, as we said in the church, is to focus on the who and why of your gifts. And then we've broadened our thinking to gift planning teams, where we have professional advisors, estate attorneys, gift planners, donors. We have all those people in the room at the same time to make sure that we're doing what each individual wants, when, and how with your gifts. So I went ahead a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about this book. He's a local author from Omaha. The book is A Spectrum of Legacies. It is written by Mark A. Weber. He is the founder of the consulting firm Legacy Planning Advisor, LLC, and he leads the Omaha Chartered Advisors and Philanthropy Study Group. He authored this book in 2021. And in this book, he explains how your legacy is so much more than just moving your assets to your heirs. With worksheets and study guides at the back of the book, he gives you all the tools to teach your children or your heirs to be productive, contributing citizens who manage your wealth that you leave. They connects meaning to your money, tightens your family bonds with and among your children, and designs a giving plan that reflects your values and makes a difference to the recipients. So again, you're not just moving assets, but you're creating a legacy and teaching your children and your heirs what's important to you and why you'd like things to be gifted, to teach them to be charitable as well.
So one issue that we have a lot at the foundation is churches sometimes feel like we might be competition for your funds instead of a helper or partner in the mission, but that couldn't be further from the truth. And these are the pockets of money that differentiate for people how we can be helpful. So we as donors give in 3 different ways typically. First, you use your income pocket. That's your Sunday morning offering. What'd you earn from your paycheck this week? How much can you give for the annual operating budget? That's your income pocket. And if you're a tither, good job. Keep it up, but that's your regular giving for the operating budget. Our job comes in when we start talking about the asset pocket and the estate pocket. So the asset pocket is you're giving something now to a lasting legacy where you're building your endowment, but you're using an asset instead of something from your regular paycheck. Like, do you have stock that has appreciated and you're going to just pay all sorts of capital gains taxes if you didn't do something different with it? We'd love to help you do something different with it so that you don't pay all sorts of taxes to Uncle Sam, and maybe help your church out. And then that's just a minor example. We have so many. We'll get lost in the weeds if we go over them all. And then your estate pocket, which is essentially what we've been talking about with the transfer of wealth, is giving something of your estate to your church or favorite ministry. And Sharon's going to go through the ways that you can do that. But first I'm going to touch on, if I hold it upside down, it'll go backwards. We don't want that. your church endowment fund. So right now, what we were pushing at local churches is to build up unrestricted endowment funds, which I've already said why that's so important. So endowments can assure that financial support for your church or favorite ministry continues forever. And they're a good way for you to say that you believe in the future of your church. You want it to exist for the next generation. You want your grandkids to come here, that you love it so much, you want them to love it so much. You want to build a sense of permanence in what you do and create a heritage that future generations can celebrate. And so I have, I want to make sure I say things politely. There are times when I feel like people just assume their church will always be there. We have seen endowed funds at our foundation that have been restricted to certain ministries. Somebody is passionate about a certain ministry, and so they want funds to go to that. In particular, I tease sometimes that we do have one for maintenance of an organ. It's a really, really healthy endowment fund for the maintenance of an organ at a particular church. And that's so great that they were so passionate about the organ. My issue comes into play when, if the church isn't meeting their operating budget in the first place, and it has to close its doors, that healthy fund that's been established to maintain that organ doesn't matter anymore because the church doesn't exist anymore. And so we really need people to start considering how they're going to make sure their church survives so that the ministries going on within the church can continue to happen. And so that is super important. You had Andrew here, Andrew Loudon here in January, and I'm going to keep saying his quote over and over. In fact, I had somebody question me on the data of his quote. I'm going to read you the quote. Only churches who do effective planned giving today will be able to afford a pastor and building tomorrow. And tomorrow is coming fast. It is predicted that in the next 10 years, 40% of Protestant churches will close. Say, how could he just throw out a number like that? Well, he follows this research website called Pew, P-E-W. I never knew it existed, but I found this website. It's got a lot of data on it. This Pew Research Center did this study and came up with that data. So it is scientifically out there that his number is accurate, that 40% of Protestant churches will close in the next 10 years if they do not start building up unrestricted endowment funds. So this is the time to take advantage of that transfer of wealth to ensure that your church exists over the next however many, 50 years, 100 years, forever. That's what we want for the churches. So, how to ensure the future of your church. Create and continue giving to the endowment funds. Churches without endowment funds rely upon current gifts, your Sunday morning offering, which has already been pointed out in the videos and the other data that gifts are receding less and less every year. You spend your church's savings and depend upon the members in times of special needs and emergencies. And if that just keeps happening over and over, you're just not going to be able to last. The members aren't going to want to do that anymore. I'm not going to repeat what I just said. I get ahead of myself sometimes. Okay, so create and continue giving to an endowment fund. Churches without endowment funds will have difficulty replacing gifts that stop as members pass away or move away. I'm sure you've seen this. All churches have seen this. That regular giver has passed away, and there went that regular gift. In fact, FYI, we have had past endowment funds that people have set up to continue what they gave weekly after they pass away. We can do that for you if that is something you want to do. If you give $25 every week and you want to make sure the church continues to get $25 every week no matter what, we can set up an endowment fund that does just that. You would have churches without endowment funds have difficulty in meeting ever-rising costs to their operating budgets. Obviously, we've seen that. And then again, we'll have difficulty surviving into the future. So how can you, as an individual, help with this? Oh, I want to say first, this other quote I have. I just thought of it. I mean, it's a quote that exists, but it's not my quote. When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. Right? Okay, so you hopefully, and Sharon will talk about it, I know you guys are existing off of gifts that have been left in the past. When's the second best time to plant the tree? Now. Carrie knows. So start now. If you haven't made plans yet, please contact us. We would love to help you with your plans. Now Sharon's going to tell you how.
I've not heard the tree thing. That's embarrassing, standing up here in front of this church that promotes growth and plants and all things fun. However, I am going to share with you some gift planning vehicles. How do we give those gifts as donors? There's the clicker again. So obviously through a will. Wow, I just said wheel instead of will. It's a legal document that states how your assets will be distributed upon your death. A really good thing about that for younger individuals is it also allows you to assign a guardian for your minor children, but it typically still has to go through probate. And a trust, also a legal document, but it allows you to transfer your assets to a trustee to manage and can take effect during your lifetime or after your death. It does help to avoid probate in most cases and provides more control and direction to the trustee where your funds your assets are distributed. One of my favorites that I just think we don't talk enough about is life insurance policies. I think when we're young and we have children and we're just starting out working, we think, oh, we should have a life insurance policy to cover our mortgage or, all of these things in case something happens to me, who's going to take care of my children. But then we get to retirement age and thereafter, and we have this life insurance policy that we didn't use, and now we don't need. It's a great gift. And a relatively large gift, oftentimes with little cost. IRAs, we could spend a lot of time on this, and Larry will probably try to, but I'm going to redirect it. But typically, again, it is one of our largest assets. I don't think we knew that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but it tends to be a big part of estate plans. And again, it's a great asset to give to charity because of the tax ramifications to your heirs. Charitable gift annuities, these are great if you need a little income now. And so you can get income today, and then it provides for current and future savings on income tax, and then the residual, of course, would go to your charity. I can't believe Christine's allowing me to talk about donor-advised funds, because we could spend an hour with her sharing what she loves about them. But a donor-advised funds, they really are fun. You make a gift that allows you flexibility and your input on how the funds will be used, and then you make an agreement with the foundation about to manage those funds and suggest beneficiaries. Real property. So obviously, real estate gifts, they can help avoid capital gains tax on the sale of a home or other real estate, farm ground in Nebraska typically. So you can donate the property or sell it at a bargain price. You have immediate income tax deductions and avoidance of capital gains tax. And then gifts of grain, not something I'm super familiar with, but we would love to see more of it, allows farmers to avoid reporting the sale of the grain as income and potentially reducing their tax burden and maximizing the impact of their charitable giving. Oh, that's you again.
I did put my name on that slide for a little bit. I'm like, Christine, let Sharon do it. You can do it. She can do this. But I am going to mention it because it relates to the joy of giving. So the joy of giving is a presentation that, again, Randall Hallett did at our first Put Your House in Order event in Omaha. There is scientific data behind philanthropy. And we kind of have a running joke in the charitable world world that if you do a charitable gift annuity, you're almost guaranteed to live so much longer than what the math says that you're going to live. And there's science behind that. So that's what this is telling us. We'll send these slides out to you so that you can go through these with all of our little hyperlinks that we have on here. But Randall Hallett does blogs, and so on the bottom of that is a hyperlink to his blog where he talks about the joy of giving. In his little blog, he quoted Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill says, "You make a living by what you make. You make a life by what you give." And for Randall, that captured the essence of human connection and the fulfillment that comes from selflessness. And one of the simplest yet most profound ways to give is by making someone else smile. A kind gesture, a thoughtful act, or even just a few moments of genuine attention can transform another person's day and your own. We've got what we feel like is the most important quote there. In giving, there's also an intrinsic joy for the giver. Studies show that acts of kindness stimulate the brain's pleasure centers, releasing endorphins and fostering a sense of connection and purpose. This joy isn't rooted in seeking validation, but in the realization that you've contributed to someone else's happiness. Ultimately, a life centered on giving enriches both the giver and the recipient. The smiles you inspire become a testament to the meaningful relationships and moments that define a well-lived life. So, this is the science behind the joy of giving. Again, it's small, so we'll send these slides out to everyone who would like them. But your brain secretes the feel-good chemical serotonin, which regulates your mood, dopamine, which gives you a sense of pleasure, and oxytocin, which creates a sense of connection with others. When we do things for other people, it makes us feel much more engaged and joyful. And that was Dr. Susan Albers with the Cleveland Clinic. She said that's good for our health and our happiness. And then the physical and mental health benefits include lower blood pressure, a longer lifespan, and less stress. And then I'm going to do another portion of Randall's presentation 2 years ago so we can really drive, again, this point home.
But there are other effects. So I do some philanthropy consulting in healthcare. I help physicians and executive leaders in healthcare understand that when people are philanthropic, it actually has health outcomes. Did you know that when you're philanthropic, it helps your health? You get better sleep, you exercise more, you reduce pain, less depression, lower blood pressure. It makes us happier. Our relationships are stronger. We're more optimistic. We have greater overall health, which changes kind of the blood pressure, cholesterol. My favorite, and I disagree, this is my one thing, but I can prove it that I'm going to disagree with CK. She said, if you heard her, that the old joke in planned giving was, as soon as you make that charitable intent in your estate, you live longer. She used the word 10 years. Did I quote you accurately? Where she's wrong, that's a little bit. There's a study that says it. They actually figured out that those people who have estate intent in their planning actually live longer. It's not a joke, it's a truism. The reason we thought it was a joke was because we were actually living it and we didn't understand the science behind it.
Yeah.
Now, who doesn't want to live longer? If you're in good health.
That's good.
That could also be.
It's me, right? I gotta do it. We'll see if I can go forward. You're gonna help me if I can't, right?
But
I did it! Sharon's gonna bring us home.
So I hope that I recognize these two individuals in a meaningful way, but I wanted to bring attention, and I met with Christine and with our financial director, who has been at the foundation as of Sunday, 10 years, and said, hey, tell me about some folks at Aldersgate who have left gifts that continue to give to the congregation. And so we talked about Mary Alice. I was able to find her obituary online, and it was kind of a fun little Google rabbit hole I went down. But do most of you know who she was? Okay. So sharing information that you already know. But again, she left, well, her husband, shortly after her passing, created an endowment fund in her honor to maintain and strengthen the music program. Great endowment, but it does have restrictions. So again, not something you can access for your operating budget, but should you always be here with a great operating budget, you'll also have these funds for music education and programming. So I thought that was a fun story and a pretty recent one. And my understanding is her husband is still part of the congregation, okay? And the other one, I could not find a picture of Mr. Summers except an old black and white, very far away photo in newspapers.com. So I didn't have a fun one to share with him. But he created a CRUT, a charitable remainder unitrust, with the foundation to benefit Aldersgate in 1998. That was 13 years before he passed. So for 13 years, he got monthly, quarterly, annual payments, and then upon his passing, Aldersgate began receiving distributions from that, as the charitable beneficiary. Today, 12 years later, even though you've been receiving those distributions, that fund has still grown by more than $16,000. So what is that, 25 years altogether that funds existed, 27. And with the regular distributions, it's still continuing to grow. And again, that was a CRUT, it's endowed now, but yeah, your church still continues to, I guess, benefit from that. And again, we like to focus on unrestricted endowments because again, great for the music funds and so forth, but if you aren't making operating budget, it's really tough to change those restrictions, if at all. So, what provisions have you made to include your church or favorite ministry in your estate? And that's all we have.
Now we got to the Q&A part with a little bit of time left.
Sorry, we get excited about this stuff and probably share too much.
Okay, I have a microphone, so who's ready with a question? I'll come to you. This is your chance. You got the experts right here. Don't have to send email, don't have to text them, don't have to wait by the phone for them to call you back.
Oh, it's Larry. Take the microphone.
Not Larry.
We're ready for you, Larry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
She's teasing. Totally teasing.
Our son is back from North Carolina, and our daughter came up from Lawrence, Kansas, and we have a son here in Lincoln, and we talk about this a lot, very, very openly.
Good.
As a matter of fact, yesterday or the day before, I went down and got our wills and powers of attorney out and talked with our oldest son about him. He's going to be the PR, and he wants to make sure he's ready to go. Opened up a safety deposit box, another one, and lost the keys to the first one. But that's entirely a different story. The question, and we talked about legacy, and I said, now, you got to understand, Laird, that we don't have grandchildren. We're not going to be doing this for the future of the Ruth name, although we have a Ruth as a niece with a different name. But you know, this is something we're, I wouldn't say struggling with, but we're pondering a lot. What kind of a legacy do we want to leave? Well, Dad, you're who you are. You've left a legacy of who you are. That's pretty important. I said, well, that's very good. I agree. But it doesn't pay the light bill. What we're thinking about is leaving I don't know what significant means, but we're leaving a sum of money to Aldersgate in some form, and we don't quite have that figured out. There's a lot of really good vehicles, like you said, and you can mix and match them likewise. But he asked a very insightful question. He came to church on Sunday, And he was raised in this church along with other children of people here. And he said it rather inartfully, because I've heard it said a little bit differently than that. But he said, is the church, and I think by this he meant the big church of, well, either our denomination or otherwise. When you're doing things like this, are you just rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic? By that he meant, look, I don't see a lot of people my age, he's 50 or so, going back to church. A lot of kids that weren't in children in church on Sunday, weren't any young people really in church on Sunday. And when the old people die, this is what his mind was saying is there going to be a church? And I said, well, I want there to be a church here because it's been an important part of our life. Well, yes, but the but question is really difficult because it's not something you can really affect. It's what prospect can we tell prospective donors of how the church is changing to meet the changing needs of prospective donors. Now, I know, he says, I like the old hymns. Well, he doesn't sing very well, but he listens pretty well, but he likes the old hymns. Now, he would be one of a relatively small number, probably, who like the old hymns of his age. I don't know the answer to that for sure. That's what he feels comfortable with. But the bigger question for many of us here, I think for me certainly, is giving money to something that is struggling to stay alive. It seems to me. Now, I go up and down 84th, and there are some churches aren't struggling, they're growing, and I recognize that. There are also churches that probably I would not feel comfortable in attending. How do we, as askers, because that's what we are, a lot of us here, people who are going to be asking, how do we express to people the hope, the promise that they're not giving their money to a dead horse, as they say in the, some people say in the political area, given to a dead horse. Any reaction to that?
Yes. Yeah. Very much.
Long question, pardon me.
Well, get ready for a long answer.
Okay.
Obviously, your question is the exact same question that every church, at least across Nebraska, that we work with is asking. Sunday morning is now sports tournaments. Can't get the kids away from their activities to get them to church. Priorities are different. We are not here to save the church for the world. That is outside of our scope. I do feel like I have to quote the definition of insanity often enough. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I feel like the church has hit that point where it's just doing things like it's always done, and it's not working anymore. I am also not a historian, but I think I do understand that any church, religion in general, goes through ebbs and flows. There's times in our history where everyone's going back to church and they just love it and everyone's doing it, but then there's times it goes back down again. And again, I'm not a historian, but I think my understanding is it's about every 500 years or so that like there's this roller coaster, and I feel like we're on the downhill slide of that roller coaster where people aren't interested in church right now. But I do feel like that the roller coaster will go back up again. So I am trying to concentrate on these endowment funds so that the church can make it through the downhill part and still be there and exist for when it goes back up again. Now, to answer your question as an individual, If you want to leave a substantial gift to Lincoln Aldersgate UMC, but you're worried about if the church will exist, we would obviously make provisions in there for, should the church ever cease to exist, then this is what I want done with it. And we always make sure to have backup plans in there for you. So as an individual, you can always rest assured that should something happen, there's a backup out there to rely upon. Now, hopefully you don't pick a backup that also is going to cease to exist, but that's just the way things go. You gotta have the microphone.
Have you been mentioning that in your material or in your presentations, the backup? Because I do think there are some people who would be more likely to give if they didn't think that there is no backup and somehow it would just disappear. I've seen little churches disappear, and I know that the assets then go to the conference usually. And what kind of backup are you talking about in not making it a true endowment where it is in perpetuity, or in other words, something back to the giver, or are you talking about back to a different charity?
First and foremost, no, you have not heard us say that in presentations because we have so much information to share that is an individual conversation that we have people once they invite us to have an individual conversation with them. We go over details like that. One example I can give you of a donor's backup plan is that they wanted to go to, okay, so I volunteer pretty heavily at Camp Fontenelle. Yeah. I believe camping is the future of our denomination because I feel like that's where clergy and lay leaders get their calling. And where maybe kids who are unchurched discover God for the first time and choose to go to church. So I'm a pretty big advocate in camping, and Camp Fontenelle, since it's the closest United Methodist camp here. I know of a donor who has left a gift, an estate gift to Camp Fontenelle, and we worked with them on their backup plan that should Camp Fontenelle ever cease to exist, that then they would like it to go to seminary scholarships. Should there ever come a time where there's no students to give seminary scholarships to, then they want to give it to our Gifts from the Heart, one of our endowment funds to give out grants. And so we can keep doing as many backup plans as each individual donor feels comfortable doing until they are content with whatever their planned gift is.
I like your thinking on this, and I think that it would be of some benefit if I knew more about it, so I could plan more.
Let's have a discussion, Larry and Pat.
Your place or mine?
Whichever. I also wanted to note, to answer your first question on the future of the church, and I'm with your son, I do prefer the hymns as well. I believe the Catholic Church is so successful because of the traditions they rely on. And I also feel like the Methodist Church could be that successful if they also relied on that. I am not a fan of contemporary service. I'm 40, okay? I'm 40. I am in that generation of what I believe a church wants to come to their church. I have a 4-year-old. I'm very tired. But I want my son to know what a United Methodist Church service is. And I want him to sing the same hymns that I sang when I was growing up at Valley United Methodist Church. And then I want his kids to do that exact same order of service and sing those hymns. I feel like that tradition is important. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I can tell you my own personal perspective that that's what I would like. Now I sit around, I'm recently on my SPRC committee at my church, so I'm learning some stuff. But some people feel like we have a blended service at my church. It's some hymns, some contemporary music. And people on the committee talking about how worship goes thinks that we need to recruit people to be in a little band so that we can get contemporary music playing to draw people in. Going as far as saying that that's what they're listening to, so that's how we should get them to come in. So I am thinking about myself and all of my friends, and I know absolutely none of them that listen to Christian music in their personal time. None of them. Okay. Okay, so I'm wrong. Okay, Sharon listens to Christian music in personal time. I don't know if she's the exception or the rule. I can just speak for my own personal experience and my friends that I know that they're more like into Taylor Swift or the pop music, or like they're not like turning the radio station to K-Love to listen to the Christian music. So again, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I personally think. And then I think that people, if you want to bring in younger families, I think you should do more things that appeal to, more events that appeal to younger families. You guys already have a daycare here for during the church time. My old church that we used to attend before we moved, Elkhorn Hills United Methodist Church, does a trivia night where the parents can come play trivia. It's a fundraiser. And then the youth, the teenagers of their church, watch the younger kids. So the parents don't have to find a babysitter to go to the church event. And then the youth are also using it as a fundraiser for their mission trips. So things like that appeal to me because I can have some adult time with my friends, and I know my kid is safe in the same building that I'm in. So events like that, I feel like appeal to my generation more, that might make people more comfortable to come to church and feel part of the church family. And that might be something new that is not just what you've always done before. A very, very small example. I mean, there's lots of things.
Other questions while we have the experts here?
Just a question about, is there a, minimum amount you start with the endowment so that it continues to grow and then you can get, the receipts off that, or how does that work?
Sure. So to open any fund at our foundation, the minimum is $1,000. If you want to do your own personal donor advised fund, I'm still talking about it anyway. You can open up an account at the foundation for $1,000 for that. Now, if you are endowing $1,000, you're not going to get much to give out. So endowments need to get into the 5 digits for them to actually be useful. But just to open an account and start maybe putting away some money into a charitable institution, maybe to lessen your tax burden at the end of the year, you just only need $1,000 to start that account and could build it up over time.
Other questions that we have for Sharon and Christine? I'm going to take an informal poll. I'm going to ask a question. You guys are exempt. Who here is planning or hoping that Aldersgate is in existence for their memorial service? Raise your hand. Okay, pretty big majority.
It's not fun to think about your own memorial service, is it?
No, but
we talk about it.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, folks, any other questions? Going once, going twice.
Thanks for coming a week later. I don't know how we would have gotten home last week with that blizzard. Mm-mm.
Certainly, we are glad to thank our speakers for being with us tonight. Thanks to everybody here for coming tonight on a different date. Our next presentation, April 1st. No fooling, it's April 1st. With D.A. Lineman, CPA. He's a retired CPA. Any question you want to ask about a donor advised fund, you can ask these guys or you can ask Chip. He goes by Chip, is his nickname. And he will be with us on April 1st, same station, same time. You know the routine by now, so we'll look forward to seeing you then, and we wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for coming.